NTV Wild Talk in partnership with the Kenya Wildlife Service and Wildlife Direct.
Hello and welcome to NTV Wild Talk with me, Smriti Vidyarthi, coming to you from a really unique location. Today we're at Gearbox, an organization located here in Nairobi that does all sorts of funky stuff, but believe it or not, there is a connection with wildlife. And joining me now on the show is the Executive Director of Gearbox, Dr. Kamau Gashigi. Great to meet you. Now, what a really cool office space you have here. Tell us, what is Gearbox all about?
Well, Gearbox is a shared platform for engineering, design, and prototyping. In countries like Kenya, the difficulty for an engineer who has really good ideas to start a company or a business out of it is that it's very expensive to have the machines. And to make a good prototype is really difficult because you just don't have access to the high-tech machines that are able to do it. So we thought, why don't we put all these machines into one space and give access to people on a membership basis. So people come in, they pay membership much as they would in a gym, and they're able to then get training on all the machines and then use the machines to create their prototypes. And then what will happen then is that we're able to do maybe a pilot so that we put that idea out into the marketplace, see how it works, then investors come in. And when investors see how well it's working, then they're very likely to put money into it.
Right.
So we've had a lot of really interesting ideas developed. Can I show you a couple?
Yeah, sure, because when I look around, I mean, there are some really funky things going on.
Thanks, yes.
Can I grab hold of this?
You can pick that up.
Okay.
This is a prosthetic arm, and it's made on a 3D printer. And a 3D printer is one of the, I suppose, really good examples of the way the technology is changing. So you can have a machine that can make this in your house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and if you buy it in the West, it'll probably cost a good quality one, or fairly good quality one would be about $2,000. And we have some of my ex-students who have a company that makes machines like those that cost about $450.
Wow.
So it's a really, really inexpensive. So you imagine you can make an arm that somebody who's lost the use of their own natural arm can use to even pick things up. So that's
so this is one of the inventions here at Gearbox.
Correct, yes.
This place is all about innovations, ideas, creativity, and getting things made and getting things working.
Exactly.
Our viewers must be wondering, what on earth does this have to do with wildlife? Where is the connection between Gearbox and animals?
So, I mean, in essence, engineering can be used to add value to any part of our lives, and that's what it really is about. And so it could be healthcare, energy, transport, whatever.
Right.
And so with wildlife, what we were able to do is get an opportunity to go out into Amboseli on the invitation from Wildlife Direct, and talk with the community there that's experiencing human-wildlife conflict.
Okay.
And what we normally do is, it's always best for somebody who's innovating to speak to the person that has a problem, so you get a very deep understanding of what the issues are before you start designing. Because you may be off designing and come up with something that's irrelevant very easily.
Okay.
So we call that human-centered design. And so we had this very unique opportunity to sit with people in Amboseli who live around the park and sit with them and have them explain to us what the real issues are around lions, elephants, hyenas, these animals that would very frequently come into their compounds or whatever, destroy their crop, maybe attack people and so on. And so in doing that, we were able to spend a very fruitful week designing things that would then be created as prototypes and tested to see whether they really work. And then hopefully subsequently we'll start finding ways to commercialize them. And not only will we do it in terms of providing that solution, but we'll do it with the community, and hopefully the community members themselves will be the people who set up the small companies to make these products themselves.
So something much smaller than what you have here, perhaps. But really, when we talk about human-wildlife conflict, like you say, it is such a big issue that is affecting all corners of the country. But technology and innovation can be a potential solution, and that is therefore the link. Well, let's just have a look around a little bit more and explore this space, because this is ultimately where a lot of the brain work would happen. Now, what is this space?
The space here is our CAD center. CAD is computer-aided design. And in engineering, the process of engineering and creating a product, you begin with design. So you conceptualize it, you ideate.
Right.
And then once you're done with that, you come and you create a sketch. You could do that on paper. And then the kinds of machines that I mentioned that we have here that are very high-tech constitute what we call digital fabrication. So in much the same way that you'd send a document to print on a printer, you'd be able to send the design that you've designed here on CAD to a machine that will very precisely and quickly make what it is that you've designed. So you're able to prototype using this process really quickly, and then you can test it and go back and make any adjustments you need to make.
Okay.
And so this is something that's accessible not only to engineers, but also to people that we call, a class of people we call makers.
Okay.
So there's this new definition around the world of people who are able, they're born with that, that native intelligence of engineering, being able to design things and so on. They may not have had a formal engineering education, but they can be very productive, and there's tools that are made specifically to make it easy for them to be able to use that intelligence to design and make solutions. So we serve in Gearbox both engineers and makers.
And that's what you need in order to create such innovations that could perhaps help cases such as human-wildlife conflict. Now, you bring up the word prototype.
Yes.
For the layman that's watching, who perhaps doesn't even know what that is, what does it mean?
Well, what it means is that you've gone from having this conceptual idea, maybe something that you've drawn on paper or created on CAD at the computer, and now you're making an actual physical prototype, a version of what your idea is that you can test in the market to see whether it withstands the stresses or the temperatures or whatever it's going to be exposed to. So that's what a prototype is. And without prototyping, the whole engineering field is not very productive.
Okay, you've got to put all those ideas into something, tangible. Exactly.
Yes.
All right, well, it does come across as something that's pretty technical and almost a little bit maybe complicated. How complicated is it, whatever goes on here?
Well, the beauty of the space that we have and the way in which we present the tools to the public is that it can serve people who are ready to go very deep and complex, but it can also serve people, the makers, who don't have to go that deep and complex, but can still be very productive.
Okay.
So we're able to operate at both levels, which is a wonderful new thing that's happening around the globe right now. We're seeing a lot of focus from a policy perspective in very wealthy countries, and the same in poorer countries like our own, on being able to enable people through spaces like this to get just enough knowledge to make things that can solve their own problems.
Okay, brilliant. Well, as we walk through your office space, I see a really busy workshop over here.
Yes.
What is that all about?
Well, that's the mechanical section of Gearbox.
Okay.
And so that's where we do the mechanical prototyping. We have, it's kind of sound, it's sealed for sound.
Yeah.
So that it won't be as noisy because we're in an office building. Yes. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
And on this end, we have our electronics lab. And here we're able to make circuits. So if I can just show you on this board over here.
Yeah.
This is the typical life of a piece of copper, a plate of copper, going from just that plate to becoming a circuit. And so we're able to do what's called printed circuit board, because these are actually circuit boards that are printed onto copper, and they're the abbreviated PCBs. So we're able to do PCB fabrication and low volume production in this space. And so we're going from your design and putting it onto the copper and eventually ending up with something that could be a phone or a computer or an Internet of Things type of device, and we do that all in this space. So this is the first time, I believe, or certainly in sub-Saharan Africa, that we have a lab like this that's open to the public.
That's pretty amazing, and considering people, who have great ideas can access things like this.
Yes.
But now, what does something like this circuit, for example, which to me looks really, really complex, what does this have to do with wildlife and innovations and human-wildlife conflict, for example?
So what's happening right now is the world is going through what's being called the fourth industrial revolution. And so we've gone from steam to electricity to computing, since about the 1700s. And right now we're having a merger between the cyber world, the physical world, the biological world, and this is happening really rapidly. And so circuitry and sensors are the thing that make this possible. So it's possible in the context of wildlife, for example, to put microphones out in the wildlife and collect the sounds that are around you, and then make some decisions based on whatever it is that's coming in. So you can develop artificial intelligence sorts of responses. So imagine that there are elephants that regularly come to destroy crop. If you are able to then determine using a microphone when the elephants are coming, you may be able then to make some device, maybe some loudspeakers out in the wild that will make some noise and cause them to run away. Imagine a circuit like this being designed to pick up the sound and to process it and then to create a response to it, like the loudspeaker.
And it's pretty amazing that all of this technology can be done right here, you know, in Kenya, in this space. And talking about space, I see you've got more going on.
Yes.
Tell us, you know, what is this?
Well, this is the section where we do rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping is really a lot to do with digital fabrication, and we've got here 3D printers. So in this instance here, we've just 3D printed 2 balls, and these are balls that are used in the pepper gun. So these balls are filled with pilipili.
Okay.
And then they're shot at elephants, because elephants, as we came to learn, hate pilipili.
Yes.
And so we're able then to prototype these balls and make them right here very quickly. This took just about half an hour to make. Then use them to test to see whether the prototype is working correctly or not. So in Amboseli, we were able to take the printer into the wild and make the ball there in response to what we were learning.
Okay.
So that's the power really of these tools.
Oh my, that is pretty fascinating. Kamal, thanks very much. And in just a moment, I'm going to speak to one man who was on the ground in Amboseli, who can tell us more about the problem surrounding human-wildlife conflict. So joining me now here at Gearbox is Simon Wachira. He is in fact the head of engineering at Gearbox. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you, Simon. You no doubt are one of the big brains behind what happens here at this organization. But let's just take our viewers to Amboseli for a moment, because that is where one of the big problems is, human-wildlife conflict. Now, when Gearbox, Wildlife Direct and other organizations went onto the ground to address the issue, what did you find, having spoken to communities? How bad is human-wildlife conflict?
The problems are not as people think. Actually, we got a lot more data from there. We talked to the community. We were involved in community for 5 days. They have 2 main economic activities for a very long time. They've been pastoralists. So they had cattle and goats. And the other one, we were very shocked to see they're farmers. And those 2, they're different kind of conflicts. For wildlife herders, there is predation, which is lions, hyenas, and other carnivores attacking the animals. On the farm side is herbivores, which the most notorious ones are elephants, which attack the farms. So you find this problem has taken them down on their knees, and they feel that the animals are bad at some point, while they have lived with them for decades, centuries.
Right, yeah.
Yes, that's what we found out.
When you were in Amboseli, what happened? What did you do after discovering what some of the problems were? Where and how did Gearbox then get involved?
Before we went there, it was a bit of not knowing. Now, how do we engage in the community? How do we make the community innovate? And innovate in such a way that they educate us, because they have been living the animals for decades. So how do we make them do that? So we had to devise and test a method which we call human-centered design, which there's no experts and there's no the other people. That means you have to innovate together, understanding the problem. And in understanding the problem, it was very, very interesting to learn that animals have brains too. Yeah. So people will innovate and strategize on how to keep them away, and then the animal learn those methods, and they also innovate to attack the farms and the animals. So we learned it's more of a behavior kind of, we have to innovate around the behavior of animals as well as human beings.
And no doubt that was so new for you, because here at Gearbox, I doubt you've ever worked with innovations that target animals in the past. But tell us now, what were some of these innovations that everybody came up with?
The main purpose of the 5 days, we wanted to narrow down to and actually give solutions through technology on at least 4 main top priority areas. Yeah. And what we did is that we found one of the most notorious animal was an elephant. Mm-hmm. And it is the brightest, yes, the cleverest.
They're very intelligent.
So there are 2 main innovations which were to deal with the elephant. So what we learned from the community, elephants actually don't like the sounds of the Maasai. They have learned they don't like the dialects actually.
That,
yes,
yeah.
yes, and the smells and all that. And also, how do we detect that the elephants are nearing a certain farm? Mm-hmm. For you to have mitigation? One of them was detecting their sounds. We borrowed more heavily on a project which is done by the head of engineering at Kimathi Institute. Right. It's called Dr. Shira. Uh-huh. So what happened is that we were able to detect sounds, and then when you detect sounds, then you are able to do various mitigation strategies. The next one on that line was where you're able, on the path, we learned that elephants use a certain path for generations. Yeah. So it was easy to be able to track them through their path. And remember, we are looking at less expensive, whereby we don't have to put an elephant down because we know collars have been put. But we learned just putting one elephant down is not only a risk, it's very expensive. So we tried to see what can the community do. And we found we could put booby traps, kind of, but the booby trap don't harm the animals. They only make us detect them. And what happens, there's strategies to repulse them. And one of them is using speakers to give voices of Maasais, and using lights, using pepper spray and all that. Okay. There are various methods which can be used as long as you detect an elephant is coming. The other most interesting one, we learned that elephants don't like chili. Mm-hmm. And that there was a good thing. It's they don't like chili at all. So how do you deliver chili to them without being near them? Sure. So one way we've seen people do them, they use almost like the pinball guns. Yeah. But then we learned pinball guns are not accessible there, and then the pressurized cans are very hard to find there. They have to be filled in Nairobi. So that's not workable. Right. So we thought, why don't we make something which it's easy to make there using water pipes and using everything they use there, valves for irrigation, and pressurizing it using the normal pumps, bicycle pumps. Yeah. Wow. And from that, then we use a bit of technology to make the balls, which are filled with pepper inside. Right. So the good thing is that you can shoot from a distance where you are safer from the animal.
It all sounds so interesting, but how would people on the ground actually access some of these great innovations? I mean, would Gearbox provide them, or would they have to, like you say, come up with local methods, but effective ones as well?
Our main thing was to make the community innovate around this, and our main thing going to the ground is we innovate with them, and we innovate with the materials on the ground. Okay. So the thing is, Gearbox will support them to start fabricating these devices at their location, and we'll help train the people who need a bit of some training to carry out some whatever fabrication which needs to be done. So our main aim is sustainability, because we cannot keep providing them. The other thing is, they won't adapt it. If you're selling to them from the outside, they would feel it's just another device from the outside. Right. What if one of their own starts making parts of it, the whole, parts or whole of it, then selling and trying to sell to the family members, then again family members trying to sell to the whole community. That will be, we saw that is more sustainable, because from the behavior there, it's not that a lot of innovations have not been done there. The only thing is, are they acceptable to the community?
Yes. It really is so interesting, because you're really highlighting the importance of getting the community involved and having that sense of ownership, because they are the ones creating these very intelligent devices. But how sure are we that all of this will work?
Having engaged the community, and how excited they were to feel that these are things they could do. Actually, most of them we did there as they saw, and most of them, even the women, found that they could do a lot of these innovations. And looking at one of the solutions, the Lion Light, which was innovated by our a 13-year-old boy.
Yes, Richard Turere.
Yes, but we found that it's not that accessible because it comes from outside. Yeah. There's no one manufacturing that. But then we went down there with just normal things, a glass of water, water pipes, and tried to make the light right there. The women were so excited that they could assemble the light.
Themselves.
It's a normal glass, and all that, just to show people that innovation doesn't mean, technology also, innovation and technology doesn't mean that you have to get to rocket science, you have to do a lot of maths. It's thinking like a human being and looking what there is and looking at the problem critically and not having an expert and a non-expert. That's the way we wanted it to be.
Okay.
So we found they were very excited and they feel that given the chance and a lot more interaction, a lot of the younger member of the community can start this as a venture. We just need to format a way in which this happens and then format a way which the community selects people who go through the trainings down there, then put a center for them to produce some of these technologies.
And how soon do you hope that this center can be created so that actually all of this can now be put into practice? Because it is very urgent that human-wildlife conflict is addressed by local communities.
Yes, I think it can be done pretty soon. Looking at the funding is not a mega factory. It's a few tools and a few. They wouldn't, not that they're cheap, but it's not that out of this world because we are more encouraging to use local material. If there is metal, why go buy metal when there's a stick? If you can find a stick, although if they keep getting more sticks, that can be detrimental to the environment. But then farmers use pipes. Pipes over time are not usable, so that can be again be.
So many easy solutions just, at people's fingertips.
Yes,
wow, no doubt that those women really are excited to get this going. But in just a moment, we're actually going to check out one of those devices and see really how it works. That is the pepper gun. Really excited to do that. And we'll do that after the break. But Simon, for now, thanks very much. Do stay with us right here on NTV Wild Talk. We're coming to you from the Gearbox, is this workshop, workspace. It's a fascinating place to be. Remember, you can chime into the conversation. The hashtag is NTV Wild on Twitter, and please do like our NTV Wild Facebook page and leave your comments there. More in just a moment. Welcome back to NTV Wild Talk with me, Smriti Vidyarthi, coming to you from the Gearbox workspace, and with me is Simon, still the head engineer. We are now in the workshop. This is a cool space. Let's walk and tell us what this is all about.
This workshop is to enable a lot of people with ideas and who want to make things, and not only make things, make them very high quality. And more, and again, go to business with them. That means they have to compete with the world. They have to compete with Europe and China. So this enables them to do that.
It is full of equipment, I can see. Again, is this basically sort of where the brain of the organization is? A lot of work happens here.
Of course, a lot of work. There's a lot of thinking out the workshop. Then after thinking, that's when you come in. And just to be able to make things and the way the world makes things out there, and to give people exposure to these technologies, yes.
Okay, well, look, before we took the break, we talked about innovations, technology, and the connection with addressing something like human-wildlife conflict. Right. So, yes, there is a relation between innovation and animals. Now, I see some gadgets here, Simon. Tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah, just to remind you a bit, when we went to the community, we wanted them to actually put their ideas into these innovations. This is the best way to capture human thinking and human innovations. So in a very short time, and that was in a matter of half a day, they were able to put out the ideas in how they want to to repulse the animals. Some of them, they created a gun, a pressure gun, which was supposed to shoot out various kinds of concoctions which scare out elephants. So this was done in actually about 2 hours. So just with what they had there. So it's just showing them that innovation can happen anywhere you are with what you have.
And speaking of, you know, anywhere you are, I mean, this literally is that glass you were talking about. This is a lion light, so it is a type of innovation that actually supposedly scares away lions. But what I do notice is there is some technology in here, wires and all sorts. But still, you know, it works. Something so simple, something a little bit complicated, put it together.
And that's the power of collaborations. That means communities will do all that. That means member of their community will come to Gearbox being trained how to do that. And that means he'll do that part, other members of community will do the other part.
The rest.
That means they'll be able to.
And what do we have here? It's a blinking light. So how does it? Oh,
you got it. That's
there we go.
yeah, that's actually a different version. We try with letting people think wildly a bit. And again, the same glass has been used to buy from a shop, but then this is a more wider shielding all your electronics from rain, and then with a bit of some sensor, so that people don't have to wake up at night to put it on. So that means when the night comes, that is simulated by you covering, the lights go on. That means they don't have to bother, that will work for them.
So these are the simple solutions, but now we are going to do a demonstration of the real pepper gun. This is what you were telling me about, that can be used to fire at or towards elephant herds, for example, but it wouldn't harm them in any way, right? Okay, so I'm excited to do that. Let's get on with that demonstration.
Right.
So Simon, this now is the pepper gun. Take us through how it works.
Oh, this pepper gun, we made it out of pipes, basically water pipes, the normal water pipes. And how it works is that it stores energy by compressed air in these chambers. And what we do is that the way it shoots is the compressed air is released from the chambers and it pushes the ball out from this barrel.
Okay.
And that's how it works simply.
Oh,
like
wow.
It's
all right.
a simple item.
A simple item, simple idea, but very, very effective. All right, brilliant. So let's figure out then, or rather, let me figure out how this works. Give me some guidance.
Wow, I'll show you. It's not that complicated. So you'll have to pump in with the normal bicycle pump. Just put pressure on it. Yeah, you got it. It's that simple.
All right. And communities would have access to something like this?
They're quite cheap and they are everywhere because of motorbikes and bicycles.
Am I doing this right?
Yeah, it's right, It's pumping.
And then this is where you see
pressure
going in.
That's an indicator of how much pressure how much pressure which is in the barrel.
All right,
yes, that's just a small indicator.
So are we good now?
We are good now. We are good now. At the safe pressure would be about 40 psi.
Okay.
Yeah, probably what you put in your vehicle's wheels. It's about 40 psi.
All right.
So I think let me show you. I think come on this side. You have to remove this. Oh, yeah. All right. There we go. So you have to hold it. It's quite light.
Yeah, it is. It's actually not as heavy as it looks. Yeah. I've got to say, though, I've never held a gun before. So what do I do now? How do I hold this?
This is a valve, a release valve. These are water valves. So what happens, you release it slowly.
Okay.
Because this is what we use to contain the pressure in here. You release slowly. What will happen, we have already loaded a ball inside.
Okay.
The first batch of pressure will throw it out, but the second one will even be better. Turn this, just turn it.
Okay, should I hold it sort of from here?
Yes, exactly.
All right, and where am I aiming to now?
Just aim at that box.
All right, so here goes. Okay, so I just turn it.
Yes.
Okay,
slowly.
So I'm pretending I'm aiming to, shoo off a herd of elephants.
Yes.
And which?
Turn it. Yeah. The other side.
Okay, this way.
All right, then We shoot from there. And this is a trigger.
Okay, so I just pull that.
I just pull that.
Okay, there we go. Woo! Aha, there we go. So that's how it works. Can I do it again?
That's how it works.
Can I try again?
Let's check the pressure. Oh, the pressure has just gone down. We didn't put enough.
Oh, wow, all right.
So you need to just to fill it again, but then what happens is that this can shoot several when the pressure is maximum.
So if you remember, once before we shot this, the pressure was there at about 40.
40, yes.
And now just with one shot, it's gone down to zero,
Yes,
pretty much.
Yes, yes. So if you want to shoot more, then you have to put to about 80.
Okay.
Was just a test gun.
Yeah.
We need to put out more refined guns out there, and we need the community to help us make this gun.
Right, okay. And of course, let's have a look at these pepper balls, because this is what we were looking at earlier today. Now, these are actually digitally printed right here. And right now they don't have pepper in them, but ordinarily they would be filled with pepper.
Yes, yes.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that this is actually made here. So, but what would then Maasai communities or any communities out in Amboseli use, because they wouldn't be able to access these easily?
They actually would, because this technology is quite available with us. And as we speak, is a very easy, it's almost like a printer, a normal printer, but then it prints plastic.
Okay.
So the training, we can train high school kids, even primary school kids, to be able to work with them. They'll be able to produce this for the community. People would set up themselves to be able to sell this, do this as a business.
Is there an easier alternative? I've heard that some people mix sort of pepper and dung or something like that.
Yeah. Actually, when we went to that, the community down there decided to innovate even more, and that's where we came up with this gun. And this gun, they were saying they would shoot dung mixed up with pepper.
Yeah.
That means it will be a bigger kind of a ball.
Yeah.
And then they want it smoldering. Smoldering means it will be lit up.
Okay.
So that the smoke, when it reaches the elephant, just the smoke, even if it doesn't touch the elephant, just the smoke will just chase them away. So this is what they came up with after seeing this. And this, they made it there with just hacksaws.
And what would the cost of something like this be? Because again, there is technology involved. How much would this cost?
I think this is pretty cheap. This wouldn't go, it would be less than 1,200 shillings.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it would be less than that.
Right.
Everything included.
Everything included?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
super. Brilliant. So these are some great ideas, and really, you believe that they do work?
Of course, they do work.
Okay, because you know what? Technology can fail.
Of course it can fail.
And then how do you address that?
You know, that this constant testing, and that's why testing is there. In technology world, testing is always part of making things.
Okay.
And even cars, they have been tested over time because they can fail.
Yes.
So testing over time, then you get to correct a lot of these anomalies. And with time of using it, then you innovate even some more. Okay. Better materials, better...
just keep getting better and better.
Of course.
All right, super. Well, thank you so much for demonstrating that. There really is some fabulous stuff going on here. All right, so I'm now back with Kamau to really discuss, Kamau, the way forward. We've seen how some of this technology can work and how it can really make an impact on addressing something like human-wildlife conflict. But what next from here?
Yeah, well, for us, this was a pilot. And the thing was really just to sort of let people understand that with access to machines like these, the equipment and the knowledge and the methodologies, they can actually use technology to solve their own problems locally. What we'd like to see happen is centers like these, like this here, which is a maker space, being set up all around the country. And maybe smaller than this, but people then are able to come in without necessarily the background in engineering and learn how to use the tools, learn the methods and so on, and then set out to not only pilot and prototype and make sure that whatever they've designed is working, but then take the next step, which is doing something commercially. So starting a small company and so on, and being able then to disseminate the solutions into the society. Right. So this is part of what's called the maker movement around the world. which I mentioned in the beginning. So what's happening behind me, for example, is what we call a meetup. So we regularly have people, members of the public, coming in. Some of them are engineers, some of them are makers, and discussing problems. And sometimes they share the solutions. Sometimes people patent whatever it is they've come up with. So there's many ways that it can be done. But the solution, I mean, the end game really is to have the solutions there.
And speaking about solutions, now, how critical is it that technology does play an important part in wildlife or protecting our wildlife and also the environment?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about technology, and especially the kinds of technology that we've demonstrated here that we can do, is that it allows you to sense things, to be able then to be alive to what's happening in a dynamic and very sort of ongoing sense, and therefore to react to what's happening. So I saw on your show the other day, you spoke about the collaring of lions and so on. And I guess in a sense, many Kenyans believe that technologies like those have to be imported into the country. Right. What we're demonstrating is that we can actually use spaces like these to develop our own technologies much faster and much better sort of apply to our situation and much cheaper. And so really the beauty is that high-tech solutions are here and they're available to us.
Right here in
exactly.
Kenya.
Exactly.
And when we look at this, technology again, do you think it's the way forward as a potential solution to solving our problems related to wildlife and what's happening to the environment?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the thing is that with technology, you're able to sort of really have your finger on the pulse of what's happening, and you can do it remotely. And you can use a cloud to convey information to various centers in the world that have perhaps greater computing capacity to and algorithms to sort of give direction, to predict what might happen. We have experts locally. We had one with us in Amboseli who's an expert in artificial intelligence, and he has a group of people at Dedan Kimathi University that he's training in this area. And so you're able then to have technology serve in ways that really we haven't even thought about in the past, and who knows what will come up in the future. Somebody who's 5 years old today, young girl, may come up with a mind-blowing solution.
Exactly, and all you really need is that encouragement, that motivation, this space as well. So how can somebody who's watching this show get involved? If they have a simple idea but they don't have access, they don't have money, and they don't have resources, what can you do to help?
Okay. Smriti, that's a really good question. And there's many layers to the answer. Because we don't have enough makerspaces presently, the first line of, action is to go online. And thankfully, people are able to do that much more easily than they were in the past. Yeah. So online, you're able to find out a lot about what's happening in other countries. People share. There's the open source movement where people share their IP, and they don't actually protect their IP, and they allow people, like the arm I showed you, the prosthetic earlier, is part of the open source movement. So the designs are available online. Anybody with the machine can download the design and make a copy of it without having to pay anybody royalties. So the first line really is to go online. You can learn a great deal just by being online and then looking around you and buying whatever equipment you might need. Sometimes it's really inexpensive, like the glass you saw and so on, and then using that to innovate. We saw what the young man in, I think, Kitengela did with the inventor of the lion lights. Richard. And at only 14, I think it was, he was able to design this. And now we've protected the intellectual property. And that is the fraternity here in Kenya. So that's the first line. Then we believe that policymakers should, once they're aware of what we do, the kinds of things that people like us do, should make spaces like these more available to constituents wherever they are in the country. And so at that point, they'll be able to access the machines and then, innovate around solutions. So we expect in time that this maker movement is going to move more widely in our country. And
that perhaps is the way forward, creating these opportunities for people, exactly. All right, that and also that are making a big impact to our wildlife and our environment as well.
Exactly. And there's one other thing I want to mention.
Sure.
Is there's people who are watching who may be interested in investing in some of the processes, or investing either in a makerspace or in some of the ideas coming out of a makerspace. space. And so they could either be a CSR type investor where you're just making these spaces available, or they can come in and make money themselves off the commercial success of some of the innovations. So those are other ways in which the members of the public can actually contribute to
right.
this.
And make a big difference.
Exactly.
All right,
exactly.
Thanks so much for your time, Kamal, and for giving us access to this incredible space that is making a big difference.
It's our pleasure. We have everything to gain. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that is our tour and understanding of what happens here at Gearbox. So much fun, some funky work going on. All right, for now though, let's shift focus. Here is our wild guess question. What would the community in Amboseli use as an alternative to scare elephants instead of a pepper ball? What would the community in Amboseli use as an alternative to scare elephants instead of a pepper ball? To participate, you must like the NTV Wild Facebook page. Only answers posted on the timeline post that's associated with this question will be considered. The first person to answer correctly wins a voucher for a truly delightful, relaxing and uplifting spa experience at the Shiangiki Spa, a small haven of sheer wellness, serenity and bliss located at Karen Connection. Plus, free entry for 4 people and a vehicle to any national park of your choice, courtesy of the Kenya Wildlife Service. 1 bottle of wine courtesy of Wines of the World, and a gift hamper courtesy of Wildlife Direct. Terms and conditions apply and can be found on the NTV Wild Facebook page. Last week's lucky winner was Eric To. And now here is our Wild Pick segment. This is a snap of Duncan Mwagadi. He was at the Tsavo East National Park and was posing in front of elephants at a watering hole. Duncan says he was there on holiday with his family, enjoying a beautiful view of elephants. At the Nakuru National Park, here's a snap of Edwin Oguta. He was having fun with a baboon, he says, but of course you must be careful if you're going to get that close. Edwin was on an official mission to the park and says he likes the animals so much. And then this is Sandra Kalea and friends. They were at the Amboseli National Park enjoying the great view of flamingos from Amboseli's observation hill. Sandra says they were there for the love of nature and to explore our own country as we promote local tourism. Ernest Kamande was at the Thompson Falls. He says he was simply enjoying Mother Nature. Ernest is a tour guide and says he enjoys exploring my beautiful country, which has some of the best sceneries in Africa. And this photo was sent in by Simon Muigai. It's a photo of his son Frank at the Nairobi National Park. They were looking at lions and Frank was thrilled when the lions came to seek shade under their car. Well, Simon says that they visited the park when KWS announced a free entry for kids and people over 60 as the park celebrated its 70th birthday. What a great gift to give back to the park. If you want your photo showcased on our Wild Pick segment, just like our NTV Wild Facebook page and send in a good quality photo that shows you celebrating nature via private message. Be sure to include your full name, tell us where the photo was taken, what you were doing and why. Well, isn't it just amazing to discover how technology made right here in Kenya is making such a difference and contributing to wildlife-related issues? Well, you too can get involved and innovate. For more information, just contact www.gearbox.co.ke. And look what Gearbox did for us. They made us an awesome gift. #NTV Wild. Now this in fact was made by the women in the workshop behind me by the automated plasma cutter, which was in fact created by Simon, the lead engineer. It really goes to show that Kenyans can come up with incredible stuff. Well, from us at NTV Wild Talk, thanks very much for watching. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. We'll see you again next Tuesday at 10 p.m. And now here's what's coming up on the NTV Wild documentary series on Saturday. Okay, hang on, wait. For the 4th time. Okay. Ready? Woo! Aha! There we go.
You can take one for that. Yeah. That is.
NTV Wild Talk in partnership with the Kenya Wildlife Service and Wildlife Direct.